All right, today is January 21st. That is a Tuesday, of course, so that means it is time for another edition of Tuesday Night Lights. This is the second broadcast of 2025, but first I want to talk about what happened last week. I've got the results behind me. I want to shift out of the way because look at that. This week's broadcast has a lot of shoe-filling to do. 2 best-of-7s that go the distance, and then 2 Game 6s to wrap up Tuesday Night Lights 1, plus the bonus episode on Wednesday night between Akron Gold and Edgewood College went to Game 7. So 3 out of 5 best-of-7s go to Game 7 on my stream last week. I have high hopes for TNL for the rest of the year. I like to think that is a sign of competitiveness to come. But without any further ado, let's break down the series of Tuesday Night Lights 2. First series up, kicking off TNL 2, it's Purdue versus Louisiana. And Louisiana is one of the TNL debuts happening tonight, actually. I have 2 teams making their debut in my show match series. And Purdue has appeared a couple of times now. One of their series is one of my TNL Hall of Famers, where they were up 3-1 against UNC Charlotte, and a Rule 1 was broken by Purdue, and then UNCC comes back to win in Game 7. So Purdue's a victim of karma at times, it seems, on my stream as well as elsewhere. They've been reverse swept in best-of-7s on CCS streams and probably other places. They are an anomaly, but a very, very good team. Enchanted Plain and Dunk have a lot of experience and mechanical talent on their roster, and I'm curious to see how Louisiana takes that, because they're also a solid roster that I actually haven't gotten to see too much of. But Lost, Juro, and Jackson are the trio for Louisiana, and I'm hoping this is a competitive series. I think it's up to Louisiana to make it so, but it should be a tight best-of-7. Next up, the second TNL debut team in UTSA. Here, I'll move out of the way so you can see. I'm not lying. It is officially 0-0 for the Roadrunners, and they are more than likely playing with Nico Jexy and Salt tonight. I'm not sure if Turinturo is going to be available to play, and George Mason, I think either way, can handle if Turinturo is in or if it's just the trio that I listed a second ago. But George Mason, solid roster, coming in with a roster change, the 3-1 all-time on Tuesday Night Lights. Some of their Monday Night Lights tournament runs, I believe, helped with that record. But George Mason making a roster change I talked about. Titanium has shifted to a coaching position. So that's why when I showed the rosters up there, it's Dev J and Adapt coming in. Adapt's an Academy team player, and the GMU Academy roster, very solid, good run in the SEL last season. I believe they netted points by making it into the second or third round of the Last Chance qualifier. So decent Academy team. Adapt's got the call up, and either way, I think George Mason are in the driver's seat for this series. They typically are just a solid team overall, and I'm excited to get to watch to them. Shout out Tihan, as always, for managing them. Great face of the roster. But UTSA and GMU are paving the way for our primetime spot. And in that primetime spot is a heater. Brewton Parker College versus Michigan State, and I think Brewton Parker are coming in here as the favorites, even though Michigan State have a lot to prove, because watching the Spartans play in CRL Open 1 and the Great Lakes Spring Minor 1, they weren't looking as hot. They went 3-2 in the Swiss stage of the Great Lakes event this past weekend, and then bowed out in quarters in a Game 5 loss to Davenport. So Michigan State, I think, still working their way into the season. I mean, this is a young roster. Opam, Knock, and Morvu have 2 freshmen on the team, no matter how talented those freshmen are, but Brewton Parker have a lot of CRL experience on their side. Those that follow my stream definitely know just how good this team is. Their record reflects it as well. Michigan State's a 3-3 if you were curious. I'll shift here as well, but 7-5 all time. I mean, up and down, yes, but that's because they've just played so many good teams on Tuesday Night Lights. I mean, I've had summer series best of 5s on my broadcast of Brewton Parker's. I don't remember what their record was in summer series events, but The 7-5 can be misleading. They are the second winningest team all time on TNL, just behind UTK, who appeared even more than... Actually, I believe they've appeared the same amount as Bruton Parker has. So I digress. BPC is a really good team. Antics, Manny, and Milk is the expected starting lineup, though they could pull from the Academy team as well. Not sure if that trio is set. I need to actually review that. I should have done that before the recording of this video, but it's all good. Those of you that watch my stream know how deep program Bruton Parker College is, and Michigan State have a tall task ahead of them, but for a team trying to break into the top 30 of colleague power rankings, this would be a great win to kind of recover from a down Great Lakes Minor 1 event this past weekend. And finally, a classy SEL nightcap on Tuesday Night Lights between Kennesaw State and Oklahoma. This one I am eager for because these are two kind of middle-of-the-road SEL squads that have a good bit to prove this spring and making roster changes to improve the trio, who had decent fall splits, but I know are looking to make it to the top 12 of the SEL this spring. But Kennesaw State's an infusion of Shady. They're now 2/3 of the original Buds at Georgia State roster that we saw storm onto the scene back in fall of 2023. And Joel as the third as well is a solid third man for this team. So I'm eager to see what the Owls look like this spring, because I mean, Shady is a ranked grinder. He's extremely mechanically skilled, and he is exactly, I think, the type of player that this KSU roster needed to upgrade. It's the B team, of course. The A team doesn't compete in show matches, sadly. Maybe Flitz will change his mind one of these days, but not for the time being. But the B team is looking very good. This is another one of those B teams that doesn't play like a B team, especially now adding Shady to the lineup. But Oklahoma, they just completed their tryouts. Real Albedo, shout out to him, has been keeping me updated on the team's status. And Will and Pay are returning for the spring semester after a pretty successful fall, I would say. But they're adding Kez, who was unknown to me, but apparently quite good. Albedo has had good things to say about this lineup. So Oklahoma 3-3 all time on TNL, KSU's 1-2 all time. So 50-50 schools taking the nightcap spot on TNL too. So can't wait to see the Owls versus the Sooners to wrap things up. And speaking of, that wraps up this preview video. If you enjoyed, make sure you like on YouTube, like on Twitter, and most importantly, tune in for Tuesday Night Lights. We will be broadcasting State of the SEL for the first time this spring split at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, not Central Time, 5 p.m. Central Time. It'll be me, Dylan, TJ, and our special guest will be Space Captain of the University of Alabama, Huntsville, filling in that fourth spot. So it doesn't show on the schedule, but make sure you do tune in for State of the SEL. I mean, we got, how many SEL schools is that? Half the slate is SEL? No, actually, I'm counting wrong. That's 6 of the 8 schools competing are our SEL schools. So make sure you come out and support. That podcast is getting kicked off again at 6 Eastern Time, 5 Central, and then the rest of Tuesday Night Lights will follow. So, thank you for watching. I've been Bepic. I'll see you there.